by Bernard's introducing his son, right? Actually, in chapter 10, the director is going to expel him to Iceland, but he was defeated by Bernard's strategy, right? What do you think? But eventually, he is expelled to Iceland, right? And group 1, it talks about the two different societies, right? The life in the reservation and the other world, right? And group 3 focuses on the last chapter, right? John's yearning to meet his father. And group 4, same, chapter 10. And I find some of the observations you mentioned in your paper is interesting. And Chejun is not here. It's about what chapter? Earlier chapters. Yoon So-young? Yoon So-young? Kim Do-kyung? In these chapters, it becomes clear John is accepted by neither the Indian world or the civilized world. Good, yeah. He is rejected by both societies. Good, okay. And Kim Jae-won? In chapter 8, John is about 12 years old. He reads a passage from Hamlet where he talks about lying in the rank square of bed in which dirty things are happening, but still John sees the world in a very beautiful way. John believes the words mentioned in Hamlet are about Linda and Pope, which is one of the reasons why John disliked Pope, for he sees him as a terrible villain of Othello. John makes himself in the shoe of Hamlet and Pope into the murderer of king by declaring that he will actually try to kill Pope when he sleeps with Linda. This particular chapter was fun to read. It was not only a brutal scene, but also because it makes us recall Shakespeare's work. Kim Il-soo? Kim Il-soo? Where? Okay. Jenny? I like the dramatic contrast between direct decision, full of authority, to exile Bernard to Iceland, the sudden appearance of John and Linda, a great disgrace to the director, which followed right after the director's decision was announced. The tension built up here emphasized how stupid the moral standard in the world's day is compared to the moral standard of our times. Are you sure? The moral standards of our time? I think it's almost the same as the standard described in this novel. What do you think? Everything that is described in this novel is happening in the world. Don't you think so? So okay. Chang Seung-woo? The real irony of chapter 10 lies in the fact that the total control and conditioning of this brave new world is not as perfect as it appears. No, right? No, yeah. Annabelle? In these chapters, I especially liked how Huxley wrote. That is, Bernard and Linnea reacting to the life in the reservation. enjoyed reading Huxley's manner of describing their surroundings and the new world they seem to have set foot in. Okay. 조소희. Speaking of the novel style, stylistically, John's Shakespearean quotations contrast, I like it, contrast questions, the contrast vividly with the utterance of the world's state citizens. But there is one notable similarity between them. The world's state citizens, John, habitually speak in quotes and sound bites. Hypnopedic messages like Graham in time saves 9 are on everybody's lips in the world. At times, conversations between John and Linnea degenerate into a war of propaganda, each person spewing memorized phrases without even stopping to think about them. John's propaganda sounds more palatable than Linnea's. Really? Because Shakespeare's poetic lines put the hypnopedic message to shame. Next to Shakespeare, progress is lovely, sounds cheap and trashy. The juxtaposition of two contributes to the historical tone of the novel. This is very good. Did you observe it or did you copy it? Is it your idea? But this is this is too good to be yours. Anyway, anyway, this is a good observation. Okay, now let's go to the novel itself. Actually, chapter 8 is divided into 3 scenes, 3 important scenes. But mostly, chapter 8 is about John. Let's go to first scene on page 123. Page 124. John is awakened. He woke up by the noise in his room. He sleeps with his mother, and mother brought a man, Hoppe, called Hoppe, and they sleep together. They talk and laugh, and he was awakened. And when the boy awakened, they pushed them out of the room. Very, very funny, right? He remembered, page 124. He remembered a huge room, rather dark, and there were big wooden things with strings fastened to them, and lots of women standing around them, making blankets, Linda said. On page 25, in the Indian world, there is a soma. There is a kind of soma, right? Which is what? Mezcal, wine, right? Mezcal. Today, what are these somas in our society? What? Makgeolli, soju, and actually, in a larger sense, sports. Sports is soma. They give sports, right? And in European countries, prostitutes are legal, like in the Netherlands, Germany maybe. It's illegal in Korea, but it's worse than in Europe, right? It's worse than Europe. So it's a way of relaxing tension. In a sense, people with handicapped people, where could they express themselves, release their desire? In a house like that. But anyway, so soma is a kind of it's a means to control the state, the world. And On page 127, Linda punishes his boy, and on page 127 in the middle, don't Linda, he shut his eyes, expecting blow. John, right? But she didn't hit him. After a little time, he opened his eyes again and saw that she was looking at him. He tried to smile at her. Suddenly she put her arms around him and kissed him again and again. So motherly affection for a son, right? So. And she also talks about the happy times when she was in the New World, the last paragraph on page 227. The happiest times were when she told him about the other place, quotation marks, Linda says, and you really can go flying whenever you like. And she would tell him about lovely music that came out of box, all the nice games you could play, and delicious things to eat and drink, and the light that came when you pressed a little thing in the wall, and the pictures that you could hear and feel and smell. Like today's picture, 3D movies, 4D movies. Do you know that? In Sangam-dong, you can experience 4D movies, right? 3D plus smells and movement, right? Your seat shakes, right? 3D. I got 3D TVs, but I've never watched it. So the picture that you could hear, feel, and smell, as well as see, and another box for making nice smells, and the pink and green and blue and silver houses as high as mountains, and everybody happy. No one ever sad or angry, and everyone belonging to everyone else. And this is what's this? Promiscuous, right? You have no partners. Everybody's your partner, right? So everyone belonging to everyone else, and those boxes where you could see and hear what was happening at the other side of the world. And babies in lovely, clean bottles, right? You debottle them, and right? Okay. And second scene is about John also. It's the scene in which Linda teaches John to read, how to read, right? Second paragraph. Linda taught him to read. With a piece of charcoal, she drew pictures on the wall, an animal sitting down, a baby inside the bottle. It's interesting. A baby inside the bottle. Not baby in a mother's embrace or things like that, right? And there's a little comment by the author on page 30, 130, second from bottom. It was the same with everything else he asked about. Linda never seemed to know. She asked about everything about the New World, and she couldn't answer. What is chemical? She can't answer, right? Things like that. But the old man of the Pueblo in Indian reservations, the old man knew everything. The difference between, but in the New World, everybody seems to be an expert, that they knew nothing outside their field, right? Linda is what? She worked for the fertilizing room. She doesn't know anything except the business done about the fertilizing room. So the old man of Pueblo had much more definite answers. The seed of man and all creatures, the seed of the sun and the seed of the earth and the seed of the sky. Our Weluna made them all out of the fire of increase. Now the world has 4 wombs. Very interesting. It's mythology, right? How about Korean mythology? The mythology of Korea. We are born bear, right? Bear and the garlic. Right? Yeah, mythology, right? And he laid seeds in the lodge of 4 worms, and gradually the seeds began to grow. And the third scene, one day John checked that later that it must have been soon after his 12th birthday he came home, found a book he had never seen before lying on the floor in the bedroom. It's the book, the complete works of William Shakespeare. And it was very moving, right? And the title, the first part, he couldn't understand. It took him so much time to begin, but right. So, okay, in the middle. Still, it'll be good enough. Took set the Linda took mezcal, right? And she set the cup down on the floor beside the bed, turned over on her side, hiccuped once or twice, and went to sleep. So because she's drunk, hiccuped. Hiccuped. Right? It's funny, right? He opened the book at random. Nay, but not to live in the rank sweat of an insane bed, showed in corruption, hunting and making love of the nasty style. The strange words rolled through his mind, they rumbled like the drums at the summer dances. Very beautiful. He's a poet, right? Huxley is a poet. As if drums could have spoken, like the man singing the corn song. Beautiful, beautiful. So that you cried like an old Mitsima, old man, right? Mitsima, saying magic over, magician, Mitsima, saying magic over his feathers and his carved sticks and his bits of bone and stone. Siloque, 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 kiai, silu, silu, chi. So he must have taken this from more because he talked to him. John is reading Shakespeare, right? And talked wonderfully and only half understandably. Terrible, beautiful magic. What's this? Yeats' poetry. Terrible beauty is born. Terrible, beautiful magic. Yeats was enamored. Yeats fell in love with magic, right? About Linda lying there snoring with the empty cup on the floor beside the bed. About Linda and Pope. Linda and Pope. He hated Pope more. And this, what follows is very interesting because John compares his situations with what is described in Shakespeare. And it's very well done. Look at this. He hated Pope more and more. A man can smile and be a villain. Remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain. It's like Shakespearean, right? What did the words exactly mean? He only half knew. But the magic was strong and went on rumbling in his head, how it was as though he had never really hated Pope before. Never really hated him because he had never been able to say much more how much he hated him. But now he had these words like drums and singing and magic. What fantastic. He only half understood what is happening, but his understanding is made it clearer and clearer because of the passages in Shakespeare. Wonderful, right? Okay. These words in strange story, they were taken. He couldn't make head or tail of it, but it was wonderful, all the same. That gave him a reason for hating Pope, and they made his hatred more real. They even made Pope himself more real. So he's trying to kill him. He's going to stab him, right? Right. Supported by these lines, he encouraged by these lines, he's going to kill him, right? On page 33, 133, the quote: "When he's drunk asleep and in his rage or in the incestuous pleasure of his bed." This is what it is. This description is what is happening in the bedroom. And on page 134, in the middle, Matsima, the magician, okay, a moon and the cup and now snake. This is Padre scene. Mitsima and John are making a pottery, right? And a moon, a cup, and a snake. Mitsima rolled up a piece of into a long flexible cylinder, hooked it into a circle, and pressed it on to the rim of the cup. Then another snake, and another. Round and round, and Mitsima built up this pot. It bubbled again to. Beautiful, right? They are making a pot on a spin, right? So the style, it was narrow, it burrows, it narrowed again towards the neck. From the bottom, they make the right. So Massima squeezed and patted the straw, scraped. Alliteration, right? Massima squeezed, and patted, stroked, and scraped. There, at last, it stood and shaped the familiar water pot of Malpe, and creamy white instead of black, still soft to the touch. The crooked parody of Massima's, his own stood beside it, looking at the two pots. He had to laugh. But next one will be better, because the boy made is worse, right? Terribly looking. The last paragraph: to fashion, to give form, to feel his fingers gaining in skill and power. This gave him an extraordinary pleasure. A, B, C, vitamin D, he sang to himself, his work. This is funny. He was born in reservation, and he's singing the other world's song, children's song, right? And also in next scene is on page 35, second paragraph. John liked the girl, right? What's her name? Kiakime. Kiakime is the girl she loved, and Kotulu and Kiakime got married. And he feels what? Second from bottom, it is finished. Old Massima's words repeated themselves in his mind. Finished. He said, way off, but violently, desperately, hopelessly. Very good. Adverbs, right? Violently, desperately, hopelessly. He had loved Kiakime, and now it was finished. He was 16. So he was rejected, right? He couldn't marry the girl he loved. And full moon, another ceremony. It's a ceremony. At the full moon in the Antelope Kiva. Kiva is a place, place where performance is taking place. You confess here. Secrets would be secrets done and come out again, man. You go down, boy, and come out, man, after making confessions. But he cannot join it. because he is the son of a she-dog. She is promiscuous, and they don't like it. People there don't like it, ridicule them, right? And second from last, all alone outside the Pueblo, on the bare plain of the Mesa, the rock was like it breaks bones in the moonlight. Down the valley, the coyotes were howling at the moon. The bruises hurt him. The cuts were still bleeding, but it was not for pain that he saw. It was because he was all alone, because he had been driven out alone into the skeleton world of rocks and moonlight. Fantastic. Have you seen the painting by Egon Schiele, in which a young man and woman are embraced, and background is what? Rocks. And Egon Schiele fell in love with his model at age 23, and she was 17, and they loved for 4 years, and Schiele found a woman who is much older. She married her, and he still wanted to keep relation with Morocco, and she rejected it. And she did paint. Great. All right. So it's like this skeleton world of. And I see a very interesting line. The phrase is taken from where? Tomorrow. Crips in this petty page to the last several recorded times. Remember? Output candle. It's impressive. And Huxley added more. Drop, drop, drop. Tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. So Huxley was familiar, very well familiar with everything, every major artist of the 20th century, early 20th century. He had discovered time, death, and God. And always alone, young man was saying. Okay, and page 139. The last paragraph. You have a most peculiar way of talking sometimes, said Bernard, staring at the young man in perplexed astonishment. And anyhow, hadn't you better wait till you actually see the new world? Actually, Bernard is far advanced. He is far advanced. He is far ahead of his time. But compared with John, he is behind time, right? Or ahead of time, I don't know. Okay, page 9, chapter 9. It's a comparison between the civilized world and the reservation. And Linnea took a large dose of soma, fell asleep, and Bernard went to the head of the to get permission for John to leave the reservation, right? And page 141 from bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth line. There was silence. Bernard hung up the receiver and hurried up to the roof. Bernard hung up the receiver. Old-fashioned. Nobody uses receiver right now. So, in the early 1920s, this is the latest one, right? So nobody. Okay. And page 145. There's a very interesting equation of the flying, the buzzing sound of helicopter and the buzzing sound of fly. Do you remember the lines by Emily Dickinson? It's the high, and there's a flying buzz, but something like. I think he must know this, right? And in the last paragraph, there was a buzzing sound, and John thought it is a fly, right? It is fly. There was a fly, right? He thought it is a fly, but actually it's what? The helicopter is approaching, right? So helicopter is fly. So civilization in contrast with the natural world, right? And chapter 10 is most interesting. It's a dramatic encounter between what? Husband and wife, and between what? Father and son, between the director and the trader. And it ends hilariously. It's very funny, right? It's very funny. Let's go to the last. Page 151. I think it's very interesting. On page 151, the last two sentences, 6 small test tubes of spermatozoa were upset. It's very interesting. Two more the sets of spermatozoa was upset by mistake because they were funny things. They upset it by mistake, and finally 6 more test tubes were upset. Very interesting, right? And what does it mean? A lot of people killed. So this is very hilarious work, right? Okay, why don't you do the homework, 11.